It's the 27th of July 2024. Welcome to this Saturday's final edition of YES101's Visual Radio. I'm Karuni Karunaratna. First on to your headlines this evening.
Newsfirst headline.
Making headlines in local news, will contest election as independent candidate. Bonds already placed, confirms President. Bar Association of Sri Lanka condemns government interference in Supreme Court order on IGP. Sumanthiran criticizes Prime Minister's rejection of Supreme Court order on IGP. IGP issue will not hinder presidential polls, says Mahinda Deshapriya. In news overseas, France trains cancelled as hunt for vandals continues. And in sports, Kazakhstan win first medal of Paris 2024 as PRC take first gold. On to your top story this evening now. President Ranil Wickremesinghe invited the people of the country to join him to overcome the challenges the country faces in the next 5 years. He made this statement at the first rally held after bonds were deposited under his name for the upcoming presidential election. He went on to confirm that he will contest the presidential election as an independent candidate. Now, another rally under the Ekva Jayagamu series was held in Galle today. The event was attended by Minister Ramesh Pathirana, Galle district leaders, ministers, parliamentarians and over 40 representatives of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. Meanwhile, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka has strongly criticized the government's attempts to undermine the Supreme Court's interim order on the appointment of Inspector General of Police Deshabandhu Tennakone. In a statement, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka asserted that the Supreme Court, after hearing all parties including the Attorney General and Deshabandhu Tennakone's counsel, issued an interim order barring him from functioning as the IGP until the final verdict. The case is scheduled for the 11th of November 2024. The claim that the Supreme Court does not have power to call into question the appointments made by the President, which are approved by the Constitutional Council, is, in the view of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, totally untenable. The 19th Amendment to the Constitution subjects most presidential powers except for declaring war and peace, subject to the fundamental rights jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Citing previous instances where the Supreme Court had quashed the grants pardon of the President, quashed the dissolution of Parliament and held against the President who was in office during the Easter Sunday terror attacks, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka underlined the court's authority in such matters. The Bar Association unequivocally stated that no authority, including the Prime Minister or the Speaker, can overrule Supreme Court decisions. The association warned that failure to honour the decisions of the Court of the Land by the government will result in a loss of public confidence in the administration of justice and will seriously imperil democracy. Expressing full confidence in the judiciary, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka said it will stand by the judiciary in order to ensure that integrity is protected at this critical hour. On to more local news now. Parliamentarian President's Counsel M.A. Sumanthiran expressed his views in Vaunia on Saturday regarding the Prime Minister's recent statement in Parliament, where he publicly refused to comply with the Supreme Court's directive concerning the Inspector General of Police. Addressing a gathering, Sumanthiran, who represents the Tamil National Alliance or TNA, recalled the Prime Minister's statement made outside of a parliamentary session. Sumanthiran said, quote, "The Prime Minister's assertion that he will disregard the Supreme Court's decision is deeply troubling. If Deshabandhu Tennakone continues in his role as IGP despite the court's order, he may encounter substantial challenges," unquote. Sumanthiran then challenged Tennakone directly, urging him to provide documented proof of his authority as the Inspector General of Police. He emphasized the constitutional duty of the President to fulfill his obligations correctly, warning that any deviation from this responsibility would constitute a grave mistake. Sumanthiran suggested appointing an acting Inspector General of Police to the President to maintain public trust and uphold legal standards effectively. Meanwhile, former chairman of the National Election Commission Mahinda Deshapriya said that during electoral periods, correspondence typically directed to the IGP is concurrently addressed to the Senior Deputy Inspector General of Police. Deshapriya said, quote, "If needed, an acting IGP can be appointed through the mechanisms of the Police Commission, Public Services Commission or by recourse to the Supreme Court. Alternatively, the duties of the IGP can be temporarily fulfilled by a senior Deputy Inspector General. Directives can also be issued via the Secretary of the Ministry of Public Security." Deshapriya stressed that these administrative measures effectively mitigate any potential disruption posed by the IGP's suspension. He criticized assertions suggesting otherwise, questioning the legality of Supreme Court decisions, asserting that such arguments undermine the right of the individuals. Deshapriya went on to note, quote, "As I always assert, even amid unprecedented challenges, the presidential election will proceed as scheduled before the 17th of October. In my professional opinion, the issue surrounding the IGP does not present an obstacle to conducting the election." Let's now take a look at international news.
International news.
3 out of 10 French high-speed trains will be cancelled on Saturday on routes hit by a series of coordinated arson attacks. French Prime Minister Gabriel Attal said security forces continued to search for the saboteurs responsible after rail networks were paralyzed ahead of the opening of the Paris Olympics. National rail company SNCF said services which do run on Saturday will be delayed for up to 2 hours on major lines running in and out of Paris, while a quarter of Eurostar services will also be cancelled. France's transport minister said services would return to normal by Monday morning. It's time to take a look at your sports news now.
Sports news.
Following the excitement of the Olympic Games in Paris 2024 opening ceremony, the 10-meter air rifle mixed team event crowned the first Olympic champions of the Games at the Chateauhoux Shooting Center on the 27th of July. The People's Republic of China took gold, capturing consecutive Olympic titles in the 10-meter air rifle mixed team event, having also been crowned champions in its debut at Tokyo 2020. The world champion duo, 19-year-old Sheng Lihao and 17-year-old Huang Yuting, lived up to their favorites tag by becoming the first champions of Paris 2024. Now, Kazakhstan's Alexandra Lee and Islam Satpayev earlier won the first medal of Paris 2024, securing the bronze and their country's first shooting medal since 1996. And that brings to a close this Saturday's final edition of YES101's Visual Radio. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Theruni Karunaratne. Stay tuned to Newsfirst for more of the very latest.